Aloha, greetings and salutations. It is I, Johnny of the Wizard Cast, and it's been a while. And I'm not saying that from like a Stain type point of view, although that's a great song. Um, it's been probably over a month and a half since I've uploaded a podcast of the Who the Heaven Is I, and I was on a little um, family business vacation, that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's good to detach. I mean, I did in such a short period 50 episodes of this thing, primarily by myself. And, the idea was to kind of just, like making your bed, just kind of get up every day and to kind of journal. And then, Johnny being Johnny, I started getting super complicated and complex. And then I started doing video ones, and there's stuff that I haven't even uploaded. So since my last episode in the beginning of July, I probably recorded uh, maybe 3, 4 episodes that never got uploaded. They will, with the magic of digital technology. But what happens is it takes effort, and not that I don't want to put the effort in. I have other more pressing things. But it's kind of like making the bed. Like, you don't have to make your bed. You can save that time for something else. And I think that's where I need to get back to, just doing these basic podcasts. Anyway, so for those of you just joining us for the first time, it is I, Johnny of the Wizard Cast, and this is the Who the Heaven Is I podcast. And, well, if you've never heard one of these episodes before, it's like, why does he do this? Well, first and foremost, to get all the thoughts out of my head when I first get out of bed, even though technically I'm still in bed. I found that this was the modality that served me best, where I was more relaxed, more fresh out of my dreamscape, and just kind of just speaking whatever was inside my head, just getting it out. Second off, maybe something resonates with you, and so you're like, "Hey, I didn't know that. Thanks for being helpful, Johnny." But then also the third thing is, maybe you'd be like, "Hey, Johnny, I've been through that. Let me share something with you how I dealt with that." So I'm sure there's other purposes. People could put this on to put their kids to sleep. Because this is a no, I'm just kidding. Maybe you put it on to go to sleep, or maybe you put it on to wake up and get your day all started. Today is Wizardly Wednesday. It is August 2024. The date specifically, well, it's 21. It is the 21st of August. And I'll say, where my kids are at, school is already in session. Up where I'm currently at here in New York, it is one of those things where, well, school's probably about a week or two away. So kids got that little last stretch of freedom. Um, I remember being a kid, and it's kind of like, it's a delicate dance when you get down to this point here, because you don't want to count the days until school starts, but you want to maximize every day with fun and excitement for school. Um, well, what I mean by that, like getting ready for school and enjoying the last bit of summer. But I didn't want to say that, because then that puts in the whole thing, like the countdown, right? But yeah, maximizing your days. And I think if you wait until the end of summer to do that, that's part of the problem. Kind of like me, like waking up today. I made the cardinal mistake of not planning my day before I woke up today. Why is that a cardinal mistake? Well, I find personally that when I plant the seeds of what I want to do tomorrow in my head the night before, things are magically better. In fact, let's do a 7-day observation. All these companies and people on the web, They do these 7-day challenges. Like, you need to challenge yourself. You got to do this because you're not challenging yourself. Are you a real human being? Be part of the challenge. Which, for some, might work. But what if you just want to be? You don't want to challenge yourself. You just want to exist. You don't want to compete. Like, um, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like, the Olympics just happened, right? And it was like, whatever. This country versus this country versus that country. What if every 4 years we got all these countries together and said, let's try to work on something together? For one summer, let's try to work on something. All these countries together, all these people. I know, it sounds kind of crazy, but so crazy. It just might work. Um, yeah, I think personally, life gets crazier when you're adult because things get seriouser. Oh, what you said seriouser? That's not grammatically correct. No, but that's why I said it. Like, why does everyone have to get so serious? Like, everything kind of fell in place when you were a kid, you know? And so I think using that same mentality as an adult and just exploring and just working towards a goal, that's probably the best thing as opposed to worrying and stressing and being all hurt. Yeah, that's something that kind of my sons and I had that conversation last night, and it was a little quite troubling. I like to think that I have an open line of communication with my kids. I know for a fact I definitely, with my oldest, like we've had like some really deeper conversations. But I feel like that at any point they could ask me things, and pops will give them insight, but then pops can get on their level. Although when it's your own kids, sometimes it's different because it's just like, that's my dad, you know. And so I'm realizing that they're not going to want to, put on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle backpacks and go walking down the street with me. Although that would be kind of cool, right? Um, but I guess when they're 14 and 16, things are changing. But if you're a parent out there and you're listening, let's pay attention to this section here and please give me some feedback. So, when I was a kid, growing up in the 80s, 90s, and we spent a lot of outdoor time just exploring and riding bikes. Now, granted, I lived in the country, but nonetheless, um, we didn't have smartphones, and we didn't worry about things that people seem to worry about today. I don't worry about it as much, but um, some people in my inner circles do. Like, if my kid was gonna go out and ride his bike for an hour, like when I was a kid, like we went far. Like we went a couple miles from my house. Like, and we didn't have phones and we didn't have helmets, and we just did our thing and we survived. But nowadays, it's almost like we want to be so on top of things that I think we could be stunting the growth of our youth. Um, because straight up, like we're too on top of things. There's no room for organic growth. It's all scientific and controlled growth. And when you have that happen, I feel kind of like in adulthood when you start constraining the free will and being on top of things so much that it becomes uncomfortable. Now, granted, this pandemic of over control, over observation is something that is rippling as adults now. For example, Facebook is going to be what I use as the example because people come on there as communities. So you go on Facebook and you're in a community and you join the neighborhood Facebook page. Now, there's some groups, if someone takes their trash out on a Tuesday, it's supposed to be out on a Wednesday. Well, someone's posting, Mr. Robinson went there and took his trash out on a Tuesday night. It's supposed to be out on a Wednesday night. It's like, okay, is this really gonna affect everything in such an adverse way? Like people do things. Maybe Mr. Robinson was flying out of town to go visit his parents down in Florida. Who knows? But it seems like the internet police is a thing now, and not in the way we need it. It's like citizens' arrests happen on the daily, um, which is interesting because sometimes there's a sentiment where people do not like police officers, yet they're becoming police officers. How is that, Alanis Morissette? Is that ironic? Don't you think? Um, I know I do. Um, that's why I do my 7 days of observation with you. Let's just observe things. And I come from a mindset, like I said, that, when you put things out there in your head before, like, things happen, like the night before, you plan your day out, they kind of, they flow better. So, as part of the 7 day of observation, what is one thing for myself, I'm going to do here this with you, this is so you can see how this is done. One thing I want to observe about myself that I will go over the next 7 days and see how it goes. And if it has a positive effect or a negative effect. So, the observation for me is going to be planning. What? Planning. Yeah, sometimes it's nice just to kind of like go with the flow and see where things are going, right? But what if for 7 days I stuck to a plan and I did everything? Well, this is one thing that I did say last night that I was gonna get back into it. So that observation is pretty good. I observed last night that I was going to plan to do this one thing, and boom. So that's good. So I'm going to throw little nuggets in there. So, ooh, yeah, I got 6.5 hours sleep. Or actually, no, 5.5 hours sleep. So, there's that. But I think that it was a good 5 hour sleep. I don't vividly remember my dream for last night, um, but I was in a good dreamscape. Nonetheless, what is my 7 day focus? Well, there's a lot going on in my life. I'm here, I'm there, I'm a little bit everywhere. Like I told my friend Deanna last night, I'm like a turtle without a shell. Um, and this kind of lays into my thing of, I got a lot of things going on in my head, and getting things out and projects and stuff like that. But Deanna's always been good about saying, just focus on one thing. Okay. Well, I started this project about 4 years ago, and I guess 7 days of focus on this will be my personal goal. I'm going to set goals for every day, because if I don't, then I won't score, right? So I like to get 3 scores, okay? I'm going to do one for my business, my work, a goal every day for that. One for the community or others. It could be, something as intense as I'm spending some volunteer hours with this nonprofit today. Or it could be I'm helping my buddy move. Or it could be, hey, I'm going to do this thing on this website to create something for the public. Something public facing. So there's that, and then myself, like what's my goal for myself? So those are my 3 pillars. And so for Wizardly Wednesday, I think it's very important that I see what magic is brewing. So I am going to do an assessment, all client engagements, and I have a platform that I use, and I'll dive in deeper on another episode with this, or probably a different podcast, but Trello, and it's an app that I love to use because it allows me to kind of put all my stuff out there in front of me, see it, attack it, live it, love it, and get things done. It can be used a multitude of ways, but I generally use it for task management, idea growing, and that kind of thing. So I'm gonna bust out my Wizardcast client chart, and I'm gonna assess all my client doings. I haven't done that in a bit, so and I'll even do touch bases with them just to see how everyone's doing. So there's that. In addition to that, let's see what else I'm gonna do. I am going to um, well, for the client touch bases, I will divvy out my workload appropriately. Let's just say that, and then I'll I'll dive in more on that tomorrow. Community standpoint, one of the things I've wanted to do for a while, and I kind of keep putting it off in the back burner, but it's create a site of knowledge, like an open platform where people can kind of connect, learn things, and go forward. And what's happened, I find, is that um, I get overwhelmed with everything else that I never get to it. But I was listening to this guy that I listened to, Diraj Global, motivational speaker. He produces all these great audio books, um, stuff of himself, like different his thought processes, and other people like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, all these other books that he's turned into audiobooks with a nice, peaceful music bed. Um, but yeah, Diraj Global talks about like his stuff and how like if he never just kind of listened to his gut instinct and followed his thoughts, his connection, and just did what he did, no one would be listening to his audiobooks and his forums. And I'm like, well, that's pretty powerful. So I should do that with my idea. And so that's the community based one because I think that there's not a great resource for technology out there. Like, I don't see one. Maybe there is. I just haven't seen it. But like someone that's like 24 hours, like, hey, here I am. Come check me out. And how can I help you? So it's kind of a work thing, but it's more of a community thing. So I'm gonna build that today on my website. I'm gonna work on revamping my website, thewizardcast.com, so I can have a community portal. And then personal, my Future 86 project. I was thinking about it last night. Currently, my musical instruments are in storage, so I'm jonesing to get on something, whether it's a guitar, piano, ukulele, uh, whatever. A couple jugs and a washboard, to make some music. So I hadn't really focused on my musical project, and so I will spend at least 1 hour on that today. So there you go. So I'm going to observe how my planning went, and that leads to our question of the day. I know I might have asked this before, but I guess I'll ask it differently. How do you plan your day, week, month, life? That's the question of the day. How do you plan your day / week / month / life? And what is more enjoyable to you? When you plan things out and everything goes exactly like you planned? Or when you don't plan things but have a goal in mind and things magically and serendipitously work? That's the question in the poll. So this has been the Who the Heaven Is I podcast. 7 days of observation. You can join in too, have some fun with it. As always, you can call the cool line 650-383-7469 to get part of the show. As part of my commitment to just recording and posting. That's what I'm going to do with this episode. And then I'll go back and add the details later, Gator. Because, yeah, should I consider this season 2, episode 1? Let's do it! Season 2, episode 1 of the Who the Heaven Is I podcast, starting and finishing right now. August 21st, 2024. Thanks for listening. Peace. Power to your dreams.